What's up, guys? My name is TechnoTuner, and today we're bringing to you a live test hands of Fairy Tale Magistus for Genesis. This deck is a lot of fun, has a lot of good capabilities to lock your opponent out of activating effects, and has some really good ebb and flow when it comes to actually playing the deck. It has a lot of good resource management and being able to build your board while being able to set up a lot of interaction for your opponent to really respond to, or really just have to deal with on the crackback, because you can either super poly their stuff away or utilize it to go into bigger and more boss monsters. I wanted to bring it to you guys today because I had a lot of fun playing it and testing it out online, and just wanted to show you what the deck can really do. Today we're going to be taking a look at the deck going first twice, and then the final test hand of us going second, to show you what you can really work with here and see how you can further break boards. Anyways, guys, let's go ahead and hop right into it, and I'll show you what we're working with. All right, so starting off, we're going to start off with Ghost Mourner Moonlit Chill, Witchcrafter Creation, Tales of the Fairy Tales, Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, and Spenta the Magistus Sealer. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and start it off by discarding Spenta the Magistus Sealer to add one Magistus monster from our deck to our hand. In this case, we're going to go ahead and add us, not the Crowley, but if I can find him, we'll go ahead and go into Zoroa, the Magistus of Flame. This will allow us to target one Magistus monster we control, equip it with one Magistus monster from our extra deck, and then if it becomes equipped with a Magistus monster card, we can special summon level 4 spellcaster from our hand or graveyard in defense position. So this is basically our normal summon, in which we'll go ahead and normal summon Zoroa, equip it with a Magistus from our extra deck. In this case, we do have a couple of options here. We can use Varum or Ninaru if we want to go ahead and get that spell and trap pop, or we could, if we want Varum, if this card is destroyed, we basically get to summon it. If I'm remembering correctly, if the Synchro Summon card is destroyed, you destroy all face-up cards your opponent controls at the start of the damage step. If the monster this card is equipped to battles opponent's monster, you destroy that opponent's monster. Yep. So we don't really need to utilize that. However, we can still go through a couple of things, because most decks are playing either Xyz or Synchro. In Genesis, you don't really see a lot of fusion. We're going to go ahead and equip the Ninaru. So this will allow us to special summon back the Spenta, and then we'll take these two, go into our level 8 play here, go directly into our Zoroa, where we'll go ahead and equip the Varum to it. I'm going to place the cards in hand over here so we know what's equipped to it. So we're going to equip Zoroa, Zoroa the Magistus Conflagrant Calamity with Varum the Magistus Divinity Dragon. Then we'll go ahead and banish the Spenta to equip the Ninaru. So our opponent's now locked out of Synchro and Xyz effects while it's equipped to Zoroa. Do note that this is a really fun interaction because they cannot activate the effects of Synchro or Xyz monsters when they are on the field. If I'm remembering this correctly, because I haven't used Zoroa that much, because when I've been playing, I've been going more into the Fairy Tale end. But this is one of the few hands in which you can set up a decent lock. You can equip one Magistus monster from your extra deck to this card. Your opponent cannot activate the effects of monsters with the same type, Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Link as a Magistus monster card in your spell and trap zone. If this card is in your graveyard, you can target one Magistus card you control, destroy it if you do special summon this card, but you can only use this effect as Zoroa Magistus Conflagrant Calamity once per turn. So basically, yeah, we've locked them from Synchro and Xyz effects. Next up, we're going to go ahead and activate that Witchcrafter Creation, allowing us to add one Witchcrafter monster from our deck to our hand. Then during the end phase, if we control a Witchcrafter, we can then add it back. Now, this is where it can get a little confusing, because you can either add the Golem Aruru, because if they target that we can bounce it back while we do lose the materials, but we do have the option there. The other one we have is Witchcrafter Jenny. I think we're going to go ahead and grab the Jenny for next turn instead, because we already have a decent lock. Because if you know what your opponent's playing into, you can lock them out of their extra deck, really, so they have to be careful in what they utilize. But you also do have two really good negations on board, which is the Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill, and the Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, which can really hurt your opponent if they're not paying attention. Now, we do have Tales of the Fairy Tales, but I'm holding on to that for the Jenny lock, or the Jenny monster effect next turn. But we would probably pass on this. If we did, and our opponent can't really do anything, we go ahead and draw. We get Fairy Tale Luna. This is already starting out to be a really good hand here, to where we can go either the Witchcrafter Jenny effect, or we can go Fairy Tale Luna. Luna effect, not utilizing this, but you can go ahead when normal summon and use Fairy Tale Luna effect to add a spellcaster monster with 1850 attack from your deck. We'll go ahead and add that Fairy Tale Magistus. So basically, this is our turn 2, technical turn 3 of the game. Just showing you a little bit more on what you could do here. And then you go ahead and special summon the Magistus. Magistus, this card is normal special summon. You can add one Fairy Tale spell or one Fairy Tale Tales from your deck to your hand. So we'll go ahead and special summon it. And then utilize its effect to grab a Fairy Tale Ball. And then we'll go ahead and activate the Fairy Tale Ball effect to get us a Fairy Tale monster, in which we'll go ahead and get that other Luna. So we have follow-up for next turn. Once per turn, if your opponent special summons a monster and you control a Fairy Tale monster, you can target one effect monster your opponent controls, negates effects, and its name becomes Prince of the Fairies until the end of the turn. Magistus makes it to where you can pay 500 life points. The name of one effect monster your opponent controls becomes Prince of Fairies. So we would pay that 500 life points if they still have the monster on the board. Then equip Tales of the Fairy Tale to Luna, giving it an additional 1,000 attack, making it a 2850. But we can also fusion summon one fusion spellcaster using monsters on our side of the field and Prince of the Fairies. So we can use spellcasters from our hand, field, and or Prince of Fairies our opponent controls as material. So that's if we really want to go that way. But we do have options here. I think our best case is to utilize this one and the Witchcrafter Jenny in our hand to go ahead and go into our Weaver. And then Weaver allows us to turn our Witchcrafter, or our Prince of Fairies, into a spellcaster. So during the main phase, you can special summon Fairy Tale monster from your deck or banishment. If this card is no more special summon, if you normal special summon a non-Earth Fairy Tale monster while this card is in your monster zone, you can target one effect monster your opponent controls, negates effects, and becomes Prince of Fairies. So we get an additional one. But we're going to go ahead and special summon back that Magistus. And we can overlay these two if we need to, and go into our Witcat. Witcat has the fun effect of each Fairy Tale monster you control, whose original attribute is light, is unaffected by your opponent's activated effects. You can only use each of the following effects of Fairy Tale Witcat once per turn. You can attach up 2 materials from this card, send Fairy Tale cards from your deck to the graveyard equal to the number detached. If this card is in your graveyard, you can target one Fairy Tale monster you control, whose original attribute is light, special summon this card, and if you do, send that monster to the graveyard. So basically, this would still hang around because, if I remember correctly, if not, it would pop. Don't worry, this card doesn't come up anymore. But basically, Witcat gives you protection for your light Fairy Tale monsters, but you don't even have to do that. You can just leave Magistus there for next turn if you really want to, because you still have a decent board here where you have Zoroa with the lock on Synchro and Xyz monsters for your opponent, but you have a 2850, a 2900, and a 1850 attack position monster, which you can just swing over and deal more damage to, which is really insane if you think about it. But you have a decent board here to where your opponent really can't respond. And if they try to, it's going to hurt them longer that the duel goes on. Anyways, guys, that's all I got for the first one. Let's go ahead and hop right into our second going first test hand. All right, for our second going first test hand, we got Very Magic Lacrima of Light. We have Fairy Tale Luna, Magistus, Crowley the Gifted Magistus, and Magicalized Fusion. So we have a very good setup here where we can actually work well with these cards. We're going to go ahead and start off with the normal summon of Fairy Tale Luna. Luna effect to grab us a Fairy Tale monster, or technically a monster with 1850 attack. So if we really want to, we could also grab the Genia of the Ring. We don't have to. In this case, I want to grab the Magistus so we can get further plays. We'll go ahead and special summon that Magistus effect to get us the Fairy Tale Ball. So what we can do here is special summon the Fairy Tale, or special the Magistus, add the Fairy Tale Ball. Fairy Tale Ball will activate to add a Fairy Tale monster, and then we'll add that Luna for next turn. And I know a lot of you are like, well, what do you do here? You can't really utilize the effects all that much. Well, I'm going to show you. We're going to utilize Magistus. During your main phase, you can special summon a level 4 or lower spellcaster from your hand. We're going to go ahead and special summon that Crowley effect to fuse. On summon, since it can be treated as Alistair the Invoker, we can either go into our Ios, or we can go directly into our invoked Mechaba. So we get an additional negate here. And then we have further plays in which we can use Magicalized Fusion by banishing fusion materials from your field or graveyard using Fairy Tale Magistus and Crowley the Gifted Magistus, allowing us to get our Weaver of the Fairy Tales. This gives us a further play and allows us to get another body back on board, which allows us to go into our Magistus. So we can revive back our Magistus, but we also have the interaction here of going where we take Magistus and Luna, if we really want to go into Wicket. Or we have the fun effect of just leaving the Magistus because we can pay 500 life points, make our opponent's monster a Prince of the Fairies. We can also negate the effects of one Prince of the Fairies by targeting effect monster our opponent controls during our turn. But we also have the effect of, if you normal or special summon a non-Earth Fairy Tale monster with cards on your field, monster zone, etc., you can target one effect monster your opponent controls, negates effects, and if you do, its name becomes Prince of the Fairies. So what we can do here is take these two instead. Go directly into our Fairy Tale Wicket if we would like to. We do not have to. You can just leave it as is, but it does give you a bit more protection for your Fairy Tale Luna. And then we would go ahead and set the Very Magic Lacrima of Light. And I know a lot of you are like, well, what the heck does this card do? Well, you have the fun effect. During your, since you set it as a quick play, you can activate one of these effects, but you can only use each effect of Very Lacrima of Light once per turn. If you control a Magistus, Witchcrafter, or Witchcrafter monster, send one Spellcaster monster or spell from your deck to the graveyard. When your opponent activates a card or effect, special summon Magistus or Witchcrafter monster from your hand or deck. So you have the capability of basically going, oh, all right, we're going to special summon a Witchcrafter or a Magistus monster from our deck. So we can do this by allowing us to go into Madame Vare or go into our Golem Aruru. So if we go into our Golem Aruru, and special summon it during our opponent's turn, and then add back the Very Magic of Lacrima of Light. So we don't get that effect, but it does make it to where we get to return it during our opponent's phase, but it's still a bigger body on the board. So basically we get a recursion to where we can add this back during our opponent's turn. It's no problem there, but it does make it harder for our opponent to really work around. With the Wiccat being on board and the Invoke Mechaba, we do have a monster negation. You can always keep it in hand. You don't have to activate it or set it, but it's another option you can do because it does give you a spell negate with Mechaba instead of the monster negate. But our next draw would be a Fairy Tale Ball, so we can activate this, get another Fairy Tale Luna, or search for another Fairy Tale monster anyways, so we would get further plays there and capability to further break our opponent's board as well. Do note that when our opponent once per turn, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls. You can your opponent can send one card with that monster's name from their deck or extra deck to the graveyard and negate that effect. Otherwise, return both this card or that monster to the hand. So if you know that they're going to have a monster that's going to be a problem, Luna basically helps you out it by bouncing it back off the board. So we're going to put this back on the bottom deck since it technically wouldn't be there, since Vera Magic would still be in our hand in this state. But you already have the one bounce, the one negate, and then the protection of Luna through Wiccat. And then you have another Luna in hand, but you also have the Fairy Tale Ball, which also is another searcher for next turn, which can help you out greatly. But that's all that I have for this test hand. Let's go ahead and hop right into our final test hand of us going second. All right, so for our going second hand, let's see what we get. Start off with a Ghost Mourner, Moonlit Chill, a Magistus, a Fairy Tale Ball. Okay, so we at least have access to a starter, a Spend to the Magistus Sealer, and a Super Poly, which makes it very interesting for board breaking. And then we have a Fairy Tale Magistus. Okay, so starting off, let's go ahead and do this. We're going to go ahead and start with the Fairy Tale Ball to add us a Fairy Tale monster. In this case, we're going to go ahead and add that Fairy Tale Luna. But we have the next option to where we're going to normal summon that Fairy Tale Luna effect to grab us another Fairy Tale monster. We're going to grab that Magistus. We'll go ahead and special summon that one Magistus to give us the capability to special summon, or not special summon, add a spell. We're going to add that Tales of the Fairy Tales. So, we haven't made much of a difference here so far as what you're seeing, but we're going to activate the effect here. Once per turn, if your opponent special summons a monster, we're not going to worry about that. But we are going to activate the effect of Fairy Tale Magistus, pay 500, change our opponent's monster's name to Prince of the Fairies. And then we're going to go ahead and activate the Tales of the Fairy Tales, equipping to Luna. And then we're going to fusion summon, utilizing the Magistus and the other Magistus to go into our Weaver of the Fairy Tales. And I know a lot of you are like, well, why are we doing that? That doesn't make any sense, because don't we really need further board breaking capability here? Well, that's the thing. You're going to take that one Prince of the Fairies now, turn it into a spellcaster due to Weaver of the Fairy Tales. Activate Super Poly, fusing, discarding. We're going to discard the Ghost Mourner Moonlit Chill, using the Weaver of the Fairy Tales. Or we can actually. So we have to, sorry, you have to use a light Fairy Tale monster. So we have to use the Luna, which will send that and the other one. Go into the Teller of Fairy Tales with the Prince of Fairies. And then the Teller of Fairy Tales, when special summoned, let's read here. When special summoned, if this card is fusion summoned using Prince of the Fairies as material, destroy as many cards your opponent controls as possible. If you do inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each card destroyed. When your opponent activates a card or effect, quick effect, you can banish one Fairy Tale card from hand or graveyard, negate the activation if you do destroy it. So we get onboard negation as well. And that's through just a Super Poly. But since Tales of the Fairy Tales went to the graveyard, if this card's in your graveyard, you can equip this card to one Fairy Tale monster on the field. Immediately after this effect resolves, you can normal summon Spellcaster monster with 1850 attack. Since we don't have that, we're going to equip it to Teller of the Fairy Tales either way, giving an additional 1000 attack. Next up, we'll go ahead and discard the Spenta to add us a Zeroa. And we're going to make it even harder for our opponent to really activate cards or effects here, because we're going to go ahead and activate that Magistus to special summon the Zeroa. Use its effect to equip the Ninaru to it, allowing us to bring back another level 4 spellcaster monster. In this case, we can bring back the Luna if we really would like to. We don't have to, but we do have the options between Luna and Magistus Sealer. We're going to do Luna in case they are going to negate the effects. Doesn't really matter, but we're going to go ahead and synchro off with these two and go into our Zeroa, the Magistus Conflagrant Calamity. So we have that option here to where we can then go ahead and activate the effect to equip from our extra deck to it a Varum. And then we'll go ahead and use Spenta here to banish it and then equip the Ninaru to it. So basically, we're going to place this up here since it's our field spell. But we already have it to where they're locked out of Xyz and Synchro effects. You don't really have to do Xyz or Synchro. You can do Fusion if you want as well. But they can't activate Synchro or Fusion effects. We have the Teller of the Fairy Tales as a onboard negate. And we have it to where it's a 2850 attacker. We've basically popped all their monsters and all cards they control on the board. We super polyed it away. They're one Prince of the Fairies. Weaver just basically makes it to where we can target one effect monster our opponent controls, negates effects, and it becomes Prince of the Fairies. If we normal or special summon a non-Earth Fairy Tale monster, so during our next turn. And then Fairy Tale Ball, when they special summon a monster while we control a Fairy Tale monster, we can target one effect monster our opponent controls, negates effects, and its name becomes Prince of the Fairies. So this makes it even funnier and harder for our opponent to out, because we just have how many negates with Teller? We have 1, 2, 3 engrave. So we have 3 negates. I think it's a once per turn. No, this is not a once per turn. That is insane. When your opponent activates a card or effect, quick effect, banish one Fairy Tale card from your hand or graveyard. Negate the activation if you do destroy that card. So it doesn't. It's just not a once per turn from what I'm reading. So you basically have 3 negations. You lock them out of Synchro and Xyz effects. If you want to, you can equip Chorizo instead of the Varum, or the Iwas instead of the Varum, and give an additional 1000. You can do that as well. But basically, you have further broken your opponent's board, and they can't activate cards or effects with certain typings from the extra deck. You have 3 negates, plus you have the capability of just further negating monsters that they special summon with Fairy Tale Ball, turning it into a Prince of Fairies with its effects negated. And you swung for 2850 plus 1850 plus 2900. That's a decent amount. It's not game, but you have enough there to do a lot of damage. And then next turn you draw a Fairy Tale Luna. So you just normal summon and keep continuing on with your plays. So it makes it even harder for your opponent to really interact with. But yeah, so even though we didn't have much really going on there, we did break our opponent's board. We inflicted burn. Oh, I forgot. We did inflict burn damage because the amount of cards we destroyed, we would burn for 500 per each card. So that makes it even funnier because we basically do have game on board if they have, if I remember, 3 or more, because it would be over 16 or over 6k damage here on board, because it's 28 plus 1850. That's over 4k. That should be about 4,900. No, 4,700 plus the 29. Yeah. So that should be over 6K easily. So you should be able to go for full game at that point. By the way, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe. But also do remember, I do mess up from time to time, so please let me know if I've messed up. But also, please do understand, I am not perfect. So there are times in which I will mess up a combo line or mess up an effect, but I do understand that does happen. But I appreciate you guys for watching today, and I'll see you all in the next one.